We're joined here on Sports on Tap on the Carolina Sports Network by Gary Stokan, President and CEO of the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. Gary, how you doing today?
Great, Lee. Thanks for having us.
Oh, no problem. I'll start off first question. I guess the most important one is, what is it like to join the other elite bowl games, such as the Sugar, the Rolls, the Fiesta, the Orange, and the Cotton Bowl, to make up the first playoff system in Division I football?
Well, we're really excited. It's taken a lot of people, a lot of time, a lot of years, and a lot of effort to combine together to make this dream become a reality. We're certainly pleased to be a part. You know, when you're talking about bowls that are 80 to 100 years old, and Peach Bowl is only 46 years old, to be a part of the semifinals and the college football playoff bowls is certainly a great accomplishment by a lot of people.
If you knock out the Orange Bowl, with the exception of the Orange Bowl, if you knock that out of the scenario in the Southeast, the Chick-fil-A Bowl has definitely been a premier bowl over the last couple seasons. Now you've named it the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl going forward. What was some of the other choices for names besides the Peach Bowl, obviously being in the state of Georgia and the Peaches, but what were the other name choices?
Well, we had a lot of we brought in our advertising agency, Bruner, to look at a lot of different philosophies of how we would approach the name. But when it really got down to it, the heritage and tradition of the peach really was the most evident of all the potential ways we could go. And I think a lot of people in Atlanta, Georgia, and really college football who remember and recognize the old Peach Bowl were really happy that we added peach to the Chick-fil-A name. And now we'll play the first inaugural college football playoff game on December 31st at 1 o'clock as the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl.
One of the biggest things when you talk about college football, everybody talks about the money. Not so much, though, the economic impact that games have. And the Chick-fil-A Bowl, on average, has had an economic impact of $31.1 million over the last several years. With it becoming now a playoff system and being a playoff bowl, how much do you see that impact increasing?
Yeah, we look at our total economic impact of what we mean to Atlanta, and when you put together the kickoff games that we have at the beginning of the season to kick off the season, now end the season with the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl in the college football playoff, will be well over $100 million of economic impact that we provide back to the city of Atlanta and the state of Georgia.
We're talking with Gary Stokan, Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl president and CEO. You mentioned the kickoff games, especially now this season. You got Ole Miss versus Boise State, and then you got Alabama versus West Virginia. What kind of decision process goes into getting those teams there and getting those teams to play in the game? And then beyond that, how hard is it to make their schedules reflect enough so that way you guys can get them to play in that game?
Well, there's a lot of conversations that we have with ADs and coaches about what their goals are in scheduling, what their long-term plans are. You have to get far enough out in advance to look at schedules. And we found that not only does Atlanta and Georgia from a recruiting base make a lot of sense, but the ability to play in a national TV game, the first game of the season, really helps the players get focused in their off-season workouts. When they come to camp, they're really ready to play. The players win because, as competitors, they like to play in big games on a big stage. And then the AD wins because he gets the opportunity to get a payout that's worth more than 25 bowl games and probably equal to or greater than, in some cases, what they would net in a home game. And the fans win because we can give them access to tickets to see their first game in a big game in a great atmosphere. So, you put all those things together. We've made a lot of progress talking to a lot of people, and now I think the caveat of the College Football Playoff Selection Committee looking at strength of schedule being one of the differentiation points in selecting teams for the Final Four and the semifinal games. I think our Chick-fil-A kickoff game will escalate in relevancy due to those reasons.
I saw an interview with you that you had made a comment about jokingly saying how you tried to get the Georgia-Florida Gator game to be played there in the Chick-fil-A kickoff. All jokes aside, how much of a reality was that ever, trying to actually get that game to be the kickoff game?
Well, I think there was some real interest by Georgia, probably more than Florida, obviously, because I still think it's a home game for Florida. But we thought that a lot of the kids that play for Georgia have attended Georgia high schools, and for them to have the opportunity to represent their state in a city, the capital city in their state, and to play in the Georgia Dome, which a lot of them playing high school football really aspire to do, to get to the state championships and play in the Georgia Dome, that we thought it made a lot of sense economic impact wise and, for Georgia. And again, we were just asking for one out of the 4 years. We weren't looking to change the whole tradition of having it every year or even 2 out of the 4 years. But, I think at the end of the day, Georgia and Florida did a new deal that with the city of Jacksonville that I think they wound up getting a better financial deal out of all of it. So I guess in some way we helped both Georgia and Florida in that case. I think Jacksonville does a great job with it. We were just looking at, hey, just 1 out of 4 years might make some sense. I think it would help the rivalry because I think, when you change the venue a little bit, it would probably make for a more unique type of atmosphere. And I think adding, the College Football Hall of Fame to Atlanta, experience-wise, would change the experience up a little bit. But I fully understand Georgia and Florida continuing the game down in Jacksonville and have nothing but great things to say about Jacksonville and the job they do. But we're trying to make Atlanta the college football capital of the world, and so having a game like that, kickoff game, the College Football Hall of Fame here, the new College Football Playoff Bowl game, all that went into the process of trying to get things done. And in that case, we didn't get that done, but we've got the kickoff games humming now with great games. We've got the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl and the College Football Playoff, and we've now got the College Football Hall of Fame opening this August 23rd. So we've delivered on a lot of that, and we'll continue to think of creative things of how we can impact college football in a positive way.
We're talking with Gary Stokan, President and CEO of the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl here on Sports on Top of the Carolina Sports Network. You're definitely right. It's definitely becoming the mecca of college football as Atlanta goes. And speaking as far as college football and this growing process, now this year you're entering a playoff system. It's going to be a 4-team playoff system to start off with, eventually expand from there. But what's your thoughts on the new bracket system and how these teams are going to be seeded and going forward?
Well, I think, college football, I think, is evolving. I think a lot of that was due to the success of the BCS. For all people want to debate, I think the BCS did get it right more often than not. You can debate on how they got there, but number one played number two. And I think it took a regional sport, which college football was, and it made it a national sport now to where you can see some of the revenues coming in and some of the fan avidity that exists out there of college football being only second to the NFL in support from a fan base. So the BCS did a good job in taking college football, evolving it from where we were. And now I think we're on to the next iteration of that involvement, and that's the new college football playoff, which I think is going to be incredibly successful, where I could see the two semifinal games, which we'll host in 2016 and 2019, mirroring what the NFL has with the AFC and NFC championship games.
Yeah, how exciting is that for you that in 2 years you guys are going to have, arguably, you'll either have the 1-3 matchup or the 2-4, I believe, correct?
Well, it'll be number one against number four will be placed geographically, whatever is more favorable to the number one team in the country, and then 2 and 3 will play in the other game. In our year, it'll be us and the Fiesta will hosting those semifinal games either on December 31st at 5 o'clock or December 31st at 8:30.
That's definitely an awesome setup for you. You mentioned college football is going from regional to national. Specifically with that, you think about the SEC and how the SEC is known as the clear-cut favorite in college football. But you have Florida State. They won the national championship last year. We were at ACC Media Days. It's looking like it's getting back to being a powerhouse. Where do you see the ACC going and growing? I mean, you had last year, you had the Dodd Trophy winner was David Cutcliffe from Duke. Where do you see the ACC going in the future?
Well, I think the future is very bright for the ACC. I think, number one, as you mentioned, Florida State is back to where they've been with Coach Bowden and the successful years that they had through the 90s. Jimbo Fisher has done a wonderful job of recruiting. He's got a great staff together, and so I think they'll continue to flourish at Florida State and continue to be ranked in the top of the ACC and the top of the nation, really. I think Clemson, certainly, Dabo Swinney has done a wonderful job recruiting, and I think their success, winning our game against LSU and then winning this past year against Ohio State, beating Georgia this year, they're an indication of that the ACC is starting to win some of those big games, like in LSU and Ohio State or Georgia, that they need to continue to win when they play heads up against the SEC to continue to change the perception that the ACC is not a successful football conference. They've been very successful, obviously, with 11 bowl teams last year. Florida State, as you mentioned, winning the national championship. And then you got, obviously the Heisman Trophy winner. You've got a lot of the other awards, the Outland, et cetera, were won by ACC players. Their drafting, I think, in the top 3 rounds was pretty much equivalent to the SEC players that were drafted in the first 3 rounds. So we're just really blessed to have, the ACC and the SEC so prevalent in college football. And I think that was one of the reasons why our bowl was so successful, as the Chick-fil-A Bowl, with that rivalry to contest every year. And I think we'll see more often than not an ACC or an SEC team in the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl on an annual basis as well going forward.
Oh, we got 2 more questions for you before we get you out of here. Now with the Peach Bowl being the new Chick-fil-A Bowl, is the Dodd Trophy still going to be presented at the same time? And if so, do you see it's only been back-to-back winners twice as a coach. Do you see possible that David Cutcliffe can win back-to-back?
Well, we definitely are looking forward to operating, managing, and running the Bobby Dodd Trophy, becoming the preeminent college football award every year. Obviously, Coach Cutcliffe has done a miraculous job at Duke, and I think there's another team that's going to continue to grow. I think the recruiting will get better, who they're talking to now and who they'll sign. David does a tremendous job with his offense and quarterbacks, and I can see, based on scholarship, leadership, and integrity being the 3 main criteria, that you'll see David Cutcliffe in those conversations more years than not going forward.
Last thing before we get you out of here, we do on the show every week. It's called The Last Call. It's basically a shout out to something. What would Gary Stokan's last call be today?
A shout out for...
Could be a shout out for anything. It could be sports, not sports, anything you want to give a...
Well, shout out to both my daughters, who are the joy of Tia, my wife and I's life. One got married in November, so she just celebrated her 8-month anniversary, and the other one is getting married in May of this upcoming year. So we're blessed to have our health and to have 2 wonderful daughters. Just shout out to my 2 daughters and my wife, who I'm very blessed to have 3 girls in my life that make my life complete.
Awesome stuff, Gary. I just got married in April, so hopefully your daughters have
congratulations.
Thank you very much. Gary Stokan, President and CEO of the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. Hopefully we can catch up with you right before the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl this year, okay?
I would love to. Come visit us in Atlanta. We open the new College Football Hall of Fame on August 23rd, and then the Boise Ole Miss on the 28th, and then West Virginia, Alabama on the 30th. So it'll be a great week in August for college football in Atlanta, and then obviously with the SEC championship in Dallas, and then the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, the first inaugural college football playoff bowl game will be December 31st at 1 o'clock. So it's a great year for college football in Atlanta.
Awesome, Gary. We'll see you in Atlanta.
All right, Lee. Thanks so much.